today's national webinar. Dr. A.M. Narahari, with vast experience in higher education, has been recognized as an outstanding educationist. His experience as a professor, as an administrator, and as a dynamic leader of teacher movement have immensely contributed for qualitatively upgrading higher education. He was the retired registrar of St. Aloysius College, Autonomous, Mangalore, former member of State Council for Higher Education, Government of Karnataka, former president of Federation of University and College Teachers Association of Karnataka, former president of Association of Mangalore University College Teachers, and the list is endless. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to present before you the resource person of today's webinar, Dr. A.M. Narahari. Thank you.
Hello.
Now, formal inauguration of the webinar by our beloved Shri Abhay Chandra Jain, former Minister, Government of Karnataka, and Chairman, Shri Mahavira College Governing Council, Modavitri. Sir.
Hello, everybody. It is a matter of pleasure to inaugurate this national webinar on online classes in the COVID-19 situation. The topic is very important. I hope useful discussion will be held during this seminar. All the best to everyone.
Thank you, sir. Now, the formal presentation by Dr. A.M. Narahari, sir.
Okay. Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
All of you can see me? Hello? Hello? All of you can see me?
Yes, sir. You're audible and everyone can see you, but I'm sorry, no one can reply.
I can't see anybody, okay?
Okay, it's okay, sir. But you're audible and everyone can see you.
All right. All right. Good morning, friends. Let us applaud Sri Mahavira College, Gudabidri, for the wonderful gesture they have shown to respond to an unprecedented situation. So let us thank together the principal, staff of Sri Mahavira College, Modavitri, for organizing this very thoughtful, wonderful opportunity for all of us.
Narahari, sir, you're not audible. Sir, you're not audible. Sir, you're not audible. Please unmute your audio. You have to unmute your audio, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay? Yeah. See, when you look at the topic online education, whether it is supplementary to traditional teaching or it is an alternative to traditional teaching, I think based on my experience, my perceptions, and the way I have gone through education, let me summarize it in 2 sentences. online education cannot be a substitute for traditional education. But when there is a crisis like COVID-19, maybe we have no alternative. We have no other way of looking at reaching out to our students. And maybe as a means to ward off a crisis at an unpredictable situation, online technology may have to be used. This is my way of looking at today's talk. Online, once again, let me make it very clear. I have seen lots of articles on online teaching. Most of the people, there is a tagline. Please remember that there is a tagline for online education, that it is the most cheaper with less personnel. Online education is cheaper, and online education can be implemented with less personnel. As teachers, as educators, as administrators, and as stakeholders, we have to think very seriously about this particular situation. Therefore, when I speak about online education, I would like to take you through education. What is the vision of education? What are the goals of education? The various objectives of education, the tasks set out in education, the outcome of education, the value creation in education, and ultimately, what is that we are going to serve through education. In my opinion, education is not just information. Education is knowledge, and our broader vision of education is, I am stressing this point again and again, our broader line of education is wisdom. Knowledge and wisdom. Now, wisdom is convergence of so many factors. It is knowledge, it is information, it is technology, it is your experience, it's your value system, it's your way of looking at life, it is the collective wisdom, it is nation building, it is formation, and it is self-sustaining and self-building. Therefore, friends, there is a broader vision for education, knowledge and vision. And knowledge and vision knowledge and wisdom as the broader vision of education. We have to look at the goals of education. Because when you think of online education today, as if the words of many stalwarts and many technologies and service providers are it is the only way to move forward. I don't think it is the only way to move forward. It helps us, it supplements us, it complements us. So therefore, we are missing out many things. There are many other ways of looking at the traditional education. So therefore, it's very important that what goals are to be set in education and what is the ideological base for education. When we say that the broader vision is knowledge and wisdom, how this knowledge is brought about, how this wisdom is brought about. In my opinion, the goals of higher education, especially because we are in higher education, is not only self-building, it is nation-building. I am with a lot of conviction saying this again and again. There is formation, also there is transformation. That is the task for us. It's in the process of building yourself, you're also building the nation. And nation is not built only on technology. A nation is built with its people, with its culture, with its diversity, with its the broader diversity in terms of geography, diversity in terms of religion, diversity in terms of way of living. Now, therefore, nation building is the most important aspect of higher education. And apart from that, maybe the self-formation, the self-building also is going to be an integral part of education when we think in terms of the goals set by education. And how is that the self-building and nation-building are facilitated? As I said earlier, that it is formation, an integral formation in terms of character, in terms of personality, in terms of self-confidence, in terms of self-esteem, and also there is transformation. What is the use of education if education does not contribute to national growth, national development, development of fellow beings? In a nation where there is so much of economic disparity, there is so much of social disparity, do we mean to say that education has really achieved its objectives? So we have to very dispassionately look into the larger objectives of education, except the delivery content of education sometimes, which we normally are obsessed with that. So in my opinion, it is transformation also, which is very, very, very important. It is social transformation, it is economic transformation, it is transformation of the whole nation. So education is the passion for every human being. And this passion, when it is internalized, ultimately it should help a society, it should help a nation. That's why many people say that in your knowledge creation, there should be no knowledge creation also in higher education. It is not just information that we teach certain things in the classroom and they write in the examination. Based on that, I don't think that today, based on a degree, anybody would get into employment, whether it is self-employment, whether it is employment in the industry, whether it is employment anywhere else. There is a process. And therefore, this education is not just delivery, and education is not just assessment based on an examination system. Education is formation and transformation. Now, why I'm building up the ideological basis of education is to see, friends, is to see whether technology by itself is going to be an alternative to formal education system. Now, a formal education system has not come today. It has come ages. What systems we have? Many systems, because there is a wonderful tradition of teacher undertaught, teacher under student. And this culture, this tradition cannot be just wished away, whatever may be the situation. Whatever may be the situation. Everything, as if there is no future for us. No. But at the same time, we cannot undermine. I said that I joined in 70. Now we are in 2020. 50 years later, I think I have to update myself. I have to look into the technology. If that is the way which will help us to realize the objectives of education, why not? But what's happening today is something very amusing for me. And that's the reason I think this seminar also should be a sort of an eye-opener for many, and also it should cajole some sort of a thinking, the thinking process. In fact, this is what we are doing in higher education. We are cajoling the thinking process of the young minds. We are making them to think critically, to interact critically, to question, to gain in terms of knowledge and wisdom. So therefore, so many skills we are looking in them. We are looking them as a holistic person. We are not just thinking in terms of a very mechanical process of education wherein you teach something and disconnect yourself. How can there be a disconnection in education? It is a connection. It's a connection. Even after 40, 50 years, I received wonderful compliments from my students. I was not a good teacher at all. I'm very, very clear about that. But the way you are perceived as a teacher, as a guide, as a facilitator, some people say that teacher is only a facilitator. I think you are beyond that. You motivate, you inspire, you change the perception, and that's transformation. And therefore, formation and also the transformation is going to be a very important task. See, what is the task for us in education? The task is, as I said, is holistic education. We have to build the emotional, intelligent, and analytical skills of our students. We have to make them strong in terms of their emotions, in terms of their way of looking at life, in terms of their intelligence, in terms of their creativity, in terms of their way of questioning what's happening around us. Therefore, in higher education, people say that it's not just learning. You sometimes, or most of the times, this is what I have said, most of the times you may have to unlearn and you have to relearn. You have to unlearn and you have to relearn. What I have learned may not be the real learning. You have to unlearn and we have to relearn. And that's important task. I think I'm still audible. Madam, I'm audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are
Hello?
audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll continue.
Okay.
So our focus is in a traditional classroom or in an educational setup. Our focus is to encourage inclusiveness. It's very, very important, their critical thinking, their value creation. If there is no value creation in a society, then we become really instrumental and responsible for all value degradation in the society. If it can happen only in education. And therefore, in my opinion, the value creation happens in a campus-based, a direct, contractual teaching, learning, much better than online teaching. When I say that it is much better than online teaching, again, I am stressing that particular point that online teaching really supplements it, complements it, because now it has opened up eyes like an emergency. Now, COVID-19 is creating awareness. China aggression is making people realize that there is so much of trade imbalance between India and China. It's almost 80-20 rate. Now everybody becomes very emotional and they say, oh, you boycott all China products. We are using Zoom application today. And we are using most of the Chinese made phones. But we never thought about these things, and only when valuable sacrifices are made by our brave soldiers, we think of China as an aggressor. And we think of online education in terms of coronavirus. This is the tragedy of our higher education system. Now, therefore, the technology is not something very new. Even in 90s, technology was there. Of course, when we studied, technology was not there. But now, later on, what have we done in the last 30 years in terms of technology? That is going to be the alternative to the existing education system. And therefore, that's also very important. And we should look very seriously about the value creation. Now, when you think of value creation, friends, I am obsessed with so many issues of our country. Now, the way we look at our political system, the way we look at our economic system, the way we look at our social system, value is a tragedy. It is only because of berefting values we are now experiencing so many problems. What value system we are creating politically? Now, all of us are speaking about so much of corruption in the society and so many other things. What's happening? So much of violence in the society. Socially, what's happening? There's so much of disparity in economic terms. There is a wider gap between haves and have-nots. There is so much of disparity. I read a wonderful article on Northeast, how the students are waiting for internet signals with phones. People think that with smartphones, you can do anything and everything. But there are many other ways for looking at it in Northeast, in hilly areas, in traditional and interior areas. There's so many difficulties. There's so much of the regional disparity. You take our own state or take any state for that matter. You think that all regions are the same? Some regions are known for their enterprising nature or the way they have built up education. Some regions are still backward in education. They are still continuing with their own time. So there's so much disparity, regional disparity. And then what about gender sensitivity? Where are our women in education? It should be 50%, So therefore, education in terms of equity and access also is a very serious issue. Of course, the MHRD statement I see. The MHRD says that if you drive people to online education, then there will be much larger gross enrollment ratio. We are obsessed with statistics. That's the problem for this country. We look at our economic development. Not that I am saying it is wrong, but there is no obsession. There's a way of looking at it in terms of our GDP, in terms of our import exports, the balance of payment, in terms of our health ratio, or in terms of life expectancy. Everything is statistics. But just because driving people, making people register for an online education, if you think that the purpose is served with higher gross enrollment ratio, because it's just 25% now. Earlier it was 15%, now it has become, it has gone up to 25%. Now through online education, I am used by such statements. Therefore, I am saying why I am very critical of the way it is pushed into us is the philosophy behind it. Just look at that. What do you mean by it's very economical? Why don't you build infrastructure? What is the need of the hour? Expand educational system. You have to build institutions. You have to reach out in all regions. At a time when you have to reach out all situations, you are taking an excuse in the form of COVID and say that here afterwards it is online education. 30% of your content delivery from next academic year is to be through online. I'm not going to be taken away by such statements because there is an ideological base which is not acceptable. If you think that it is a cheaper way of looking at people, not the very most effective way of reaching out to people, and with less personal, again and again it is said, what is the position of teachers? You know that if online education, as it is glorified today, is going to be the order of the day, how many of us are going to be there in education? I think I have got a wonderful idea now. I am a retired person, retired 5 years ago, but now I can teach online. There are 101 ways of service providers in online, and I can displace, at least based on my experience, this may happen. And that's how we have to think in a larger context when an online education is pushed for. You think that, say, sometimes, when the economy was opened up in the 90s, we thought that everything is wonderful. Later on, what happened? So why economic development with a human face? Why inclusive growth? Who said that inclusive growth? We only experience that it's living out a larger section of the population. And that's how we brought our economy in terms of our policy perspectives for looking at an inclusive growth with a human face. Now, when there's a COVID crisis, we have seen that what was the plight of laborers, especially the migrant laborers, and what actually the reality of this country. So therefore, ideologically, if you think that it is a very cheaper and it can be done with less personnel, definitely it can be done with less personnel. Now, for the time being, teachers may be thinking that it is only through the college the service is provided. It's not. So you look at the platform. Anybody can register from anywhere. Video recordings are there. The direct teaching hours are there. DTH channels are there. I have seen at least 35 different ways of government-sponsored schemes in terms of online education, other than MOOCs and other things. And therefore, friends, we have to make sure of ourselves in what way we have to use the technology so that our vision of education is not diluted. If our vision of education is diluted, I don't think online education is going to be a solution, except making our students understand. Here in general education, where is online education for professional education? I was wondering why AICT is not brought into this. Why only general education? And an IIT professor is saying that in general education, where is the practicality? So this is the problem of this country. Where is the practicality? You teach and your students don't know what they're going to do. Whereas in professional education, they think in terms of practicality. They say that that's why you live out. Highly professionalized IT education also is based on traditional education system. And there is no online programs there. An MBBS program can be done through online when you have to develop skills. I was just watching one of the advertisements. You also have seen that an elderly person wants to go out for a stroll or something else, and the wife prevents him, saying, "No, everything is done." He says that electricity bill paid online. He says that water bill paid online. And then suddenly something strikes his mind, and he says that as he's about to go out, they say, "Why?" Then he says that I go for a haircut, whether it could be done online. So this is something, it should be an eye-opener. There are ways of looking at online education. There are ways of looking at traditional education. But if you lose sight of the very existence, the very identity, the very basis of education, and then online education is going to be a temporary solution. And the tragedy is that people will be in the form of an illusion, that is herd mentality. What happened to engineering education in Karnataka or all over India? How many engineering colleges started? And most of the engineering colleges are getting converted into many other enterprises now. Because we are in a position to guide the society. We are not going to be guided by anybody and everybody saying that, yes, this is the only way to look forward. And this is, my friends, my honest request as a now, of course, when you are looking at now, it's inevitable for us. So therefore, our scope is now restricted only for content delivery. Now, of course, many universities were not able to complete their syllabus, or now we don't know whether the examination is going to be conducted. If examination is conducted, how that examination is going to be conducted. And many universities are saying that there will be no first and second year examinations, because our assessment is not continuous assessment. There are so many regulatory agencies. NAC has come in, NIRF has come in. There are so many agencies which are coming, but have you created a continuous assessment basis? Am I audible? Madam? I can't hear you.
Sir, you're audible, sir. You can continue.
I can continue.
Yes,
Because
sir.
I'm seeing, whenever I see you, I get a little apprehensive. Maybe there's something wrong. It's okay.
Yes.
So, therefore, I think people say that you have a laptop, you have internet connectivity, you have a smartphone. What else you require? You can teach. If that is teaching, I don't know. I have seen people, teachers struggling, recording their teaching in the classroom, and some of them are live sessions, of course, based. Many apps are there, and based on these live sessions, they are struggling. And many people say that where is the internet connectivity? Even cities, what kind of internet connectivity you are having? What kind of power supply, especially in rural areas, to what extent the power supply is there? Yeah, maybe they say that YouTube is there, recorded versions are there, or televisions are there. Now they are thinking in terms of even correspondence programs. And the first 100 ranked universities under national institution ranking framework, now they are going to be permitted e-Vidya scheme. The e-Vidya scheme is one wherein again you can register to a particular university and you can get a degree. And MOOCs is there. There are many such platforms, and therefore there are many issues. Now I came across one IIT professor very interestingly putting across certain ideas for online education. See, I also have seen some of the highest quality online education content delivery, especially an institute like the Indian School of Business, ISB, which is #1 in the private sector. The education content based on their software and the professors they're using all over the world. The Harvard University professors are there, the Kellogg's, Northern University, Cambridge University, from all over the world. And when you look at their e-content, the way they speak, and they have that ability of grasping the students, the way they speak, their language, their delivery, their eye contacts, their gestures, and making students think and also interact with them at intervals. I don't think in our general education, these things are instantaneously possible. It takes a lot of time. Therefore, it's a flipped education system, they say. Online education is a flipped education system, wherein, a content is given to the student, learner. Learner comes prepared. At a higher level of learning, in professional learning, the learner comes prepared. And then the online classes, they become very, very effective. Because you know what you are teaching and they know what they're learning. In our general education, even in our classrooms, we struggle. We struggle to get their attention. And that's how 75% attendance is made, and some institutions are giving marks even for attendance. And some people say that if at all, by not using the brain, if somebody has to score marks, it is attendance marks. Now, also there is a way of looking at it, and then people say that, okay, let them attend the class. When they are in the class, at least they are compelled to learn something. That's another way of thinking about it. But in general education, it's not easy to make them learn. So therefore, and then comes the skills. Where are the group discussions? Where are the critical acquisition processes? Where are the interactive sessions? the way they can interrupt you. Is it possible? Because analytical skills are important, critical skills are important, conceptual skills are important, technical skills are important. These skills, I do not know, you can show videos. And in fact, this was one of the major issues in online teaching today. Many people say that many speak, or they use the Blackboard, or they use the PPT. PPT, something, I also use the PPT. I think sometimes the same PPT is used just like our notes. So PowerPoint, sometimes I say that there is neither power nor point. But when you just make use of a PowerPoint, you think that it's the way we reach out our society. I mean, our students, that's also something which have to look, think very seriously about it. Therefore, what time the pictures are to be shown? What level you stop? When the pictures are to be shown, when the graphs are to be shown, when videos are to be shown, when presentations are to be made. Now that's how, see, in school education, at least there is training. NCERT has done a good job. Now at the primary, secondary level of education, even with regard to online education, there have been a lot of training. Whereas in higher education, it is straight from the university into college. And then later on, people will think in terms of training, but I have not seen many people getting trained in technology. They are getting trained in how to become a good teacher, or maybe in their own academic areas. But all of a sudden now, online education, and 25-30% of our education is going to be online from next academic year, is something which I think is not easily convincing me, because the teachers will have to be trained the way they use their language, they pronounce their language. Another problem that has been brought out in online teaching is about the vernacular language. In most of the institutions, you teach in your local language, and most of the materials are in English. Now, all these are to be getting translated. Of course, the larger languages like maybe Hindi or Tamil, you get more study material. I don't think that the same quantity of study material are available in all regional languages. Now, of course, it's just a live contact is as if it is a classroom. And if that is going to supplement classroom, I think our classroom teaching will have to be reviewed very soon. And therefore, when I think in terms of the issues of online education, I'm looking into all these things. And even in apps, use of apps, service providers, what kind of an app is to be used, how it is to be applied, you need training. Not only the teachers, even other stakeholders, the administrators also will have training, because otherwise they will not understand. Our regulatory agency said smart classrooms. How many smart classrooms are there in a college or in any institution? Sometimes we have the knack of convincing knack, I'm saying always. So when knack team comes on, we show 1 or 2 smart classrooms. Of course, that's virtual classroom, right? Now, you can supplement so many things in terms of your traditional teaching through virtual classrooms. But we are not able to build smart classrooms. Most of our classrooms are Blackboard based and learner seated in a particular position based classrooms. And therefore, we have to look very seriously into these things also when we start doing that. Now, of course, now for the sake of examination, when you do something, we think that later on, changing the behavioral pattern is going to be difficult. That's why my task today is to create an awareness. At the same time, saying that maybe yes, use it effectively, reach out to your students. To what extent you can reach out, okay, let the year be somehow completed. And next academic year, if it is going to be online teaching to the extent of 30%, in my opinion, please think very seriously about that. If it is going to be just another classroom teaching, I am not for that. If it is going to be complementing classroom teaching for advanced learning, because we have more or less in our education system, credit system. And now people are thinking in terms of common syllabus, uniform content. There is no meaning in higher education about these things. Maybe in another 5 minutes, I'll just sum it up. I think my time is up. I'll take another 5 minutes. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can continue, sir.
Yes.
You can continue, sir.
Okay. I'll take
Okay.
5 minutes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Then we'll start discussing about that. So I think we also have to look inwardly in terms of our existing classroom. Otherwise, what happens if it is only online education? There was one very interesting comparison. Now, the law prescribes, again, this was by one of the professors. When he started speaking about online education, he compared this online education for an ideological discussion with an example of helmets. I was really wondering what this professor is going to say with regard to helmets. He says that helmet is for safety. Helmet is also for compliance. If somebody catches you for violating law, you can say, and some of the helmets which are being used, you have seen in what way they are going to protect their brain or their head. I am not very clear about that. So, but it complies with the law. So you choose in between whether you want to do something which complies with some of the larger requirement, whether it is for the real genuine purpose of education, of knowledge and wisdom, and creating new knowledge for formation and transformation. So that's where. Now, of course, platforms, hundreds of platforms are there now. You got Swayam, you got Swayam Prabha, you got, as I said, eVidya. And I have seen in school education, they have several schemes on MHRD, you have YouTubes, you have got social media. And now many professional service providers are there. So there is plenty of platforms and direct television, and they are now thinking in terms of that. The government also will have to look into these things. If it is to supplement the traditional education, the government also should think very seriously how to reach out, what infrastructure they have to create. How is that the government has not been able to create internet connectivity to many areas even today? And if not power supply, what is the alternative to power supply? These things and smart classrooms. If smart classrooms are, I think smart classrooms are in a way are better than directly teaching like online teaching. Because there are many experimentations possible which you cannot do in a classroom. So virtual experimentations, even in science laboratories, because there are several issues that the animal ethics issues there. You can't cut an animal. Even in your practicals, you have certain restrictions. Then a virtual video can bring out beautifully well. So even in our traditional other liberal arts, commerce and management, lots of videos could be shown, films can be shown, short films can be shown, and some of the skills like what they're going to learn is going to be implemented can be learned through virtual classrooms. It's not just an online classroom. It is the virtual classroom in education setup. My opinion, students know in a campus-based learning, students are always better. Everybody loves campus. They love their institution. They love their college. They love their friends. They love their atmosphere. They love their culture. Each institution is different. 50,000 colleges, each institution is different. 1,000 universities, each university is different. As you enter the portals of an institution, there are certain vibes created in you. And there is a sort of a campus learning. And this campus learning is something really beautiful. There are so many activities, sports activities are there, extracurricular activities are there. And many of these things cannot happen in a room. If it can happen in a room, I don't think if that is the way people look at the development of this country, the progress of this country. I'm sorry, I do not know. It's not possible that way. I have seen students really enjoying so many activities, so many performances, and they remember that. You know, that's more than the classrooms. They remember their campus, they remember their friends, they remember the teachers. Even those students who are not very attentive in the classroom, remember the teachers for their value system, the way they behaved, the way they inspired, the way they guided, the way they motivated, the way they took care. And otherwise, teacher, earlier also people were saying that teacher is just a facilitator. Now teacher is going to be a mere facilitator. Teacher is not going to be a teacher at all. He is not going to be a motivator. He is not going to be an inspirer. He is going to be a facilitator, passing on information in the best possible way with maybe some interactions. Of course, technology is improving day by day. They may even go to the extent. I saw an article written by a service provider. Of course, this is a wonderful opportunity for all service providers. I was a registrar of an autonomous institution looking into examination. How many service providers? Everybody was saying that, okay, you have an online examination system. I was disappointed that what online education system is. See, objectivity, yes. If objective way of assessment should be there to a certain extent, yes. If subjectivity is there, many of my professors suppose that there is the sort of a critical way of thinking. Each one can be different. In literature, it can be different. In liberal arts, it can be different. When you look at life, you have your own perceptions, your own viewpoints. How are you going to assess through an objective mode of assessment? All these things I've seen now, of course, they are going to be flooded. The online service providers, there's going to be a flood of that in every education institution. And of course, NAC and other agencies will say that what such applications are there, what such technology is there in your institution to assess, and naturally we'll be driven to that. So therefore, friends, my way of summing up, please don't brand me as somebody who is not into technology, because he is of a different generation. I think I am making use of the best of the technology. Even at home, I am making use of the best of the technology. Now it may come very handy to me also. Now if online education is going to be the order of the day, I am not going to retire. I'll come back. I'll come back in a different way. But therefore, don't take it in that sense. Take it in the real sense. How online education can supplement. There are many things which we will not be able to deliver, which we will not be able to explain, which we will not be able to reach out to our students. Because I had American students in our college based on a group exchange program for one semester for about 15 credits. I've seen the way from one of the topmost universities of US, the way they were using smart phones in the classroom. So the teacher is nervous. If you are allowing your students to use the smartphone, if you by heart some definition and repeat that definition in the classroom, he or she will see the definition there. And in fact, the student asked me, why this teacher is defining and advantage? We are in higher education, all advantages, disadvantages, functions. Why? We want to know more. We want to look at education in a much more realized way. So therefore, please allow us, because the teachers objected, students using. Of course, we have a problem in our classrooms. You know that if smartphones are given to our students, then we have to become really smart. In reaching out to them, they are smarter already than us. So there are issues, there are problems, and that's how there should be a paradigm shift, even in our attitude. If our attitude is that, okay, I am doing the best, and in traditional way of teaching is the best, classroom is the best, that's also not correct. Because we do not know that we are not doing, we are not performing. Because nobody tells. So if you ask the student, even student assessment, most of the time they say you are good. Who will say that you are bad? Very, very few of them may say you are very bad. Because sort of an assessment, whether it is a self-assessment, even in our existing classroom teaching, and that's how sometimes people always speak in terms of quality and excellence. Now, why should anybody speak of quality and excellence? Education is quality and excellence. That's our task. Just as equity and access, education is quality and excellence. If quality and excellence can be brought out through one particular mode of education, that's how I said wisdom. Knowledge to wisdom, wherein it is the conglomeration of so many virtues and so many qualities and so many characters of an effective individual with very high, or at least with very strong self-esteem. And if that is the purpose of education, we will also change slowly. We will get into technology. We will see what best way we will be able to improvise or improve our delivery, our teaching, our way of looking at our students, the way we take more care of our students. And I think that should be the attitude, instead of just brushing it aside, saying that, yes, the day has come when everything is online. It should not. So right now we are in a crisis. Everywhere in school education also they say no online education. Even at home, many parents, because I keep writing in many social media, and parents are asking me, sir, our children sitting at home are glued to television or to their smartphones. What they are doing, we do not know. At least online education, something will happen. Yes, there are many, many social issues which we have to look into when we think in terms of policy perspectives. Teachers, friends, I think this is the way we have to move forward. There is technology available to us. We shall see how best we make use of it. And we will also make use of it when we come back to a campus with full of vibration, with full of students, with full of activities, and that gives us the happiness. It's not only our happiness, it is the happiness of the society. Let's look into education in larger perspective. Thank you very much for listening to me. Now it's open for discussion.
Thank you, sir.
Are you ready for discussion now?
Yes, sir. Participants kindly note that the link for the feedback form is already given in the chat box. And anyone has any questions, please put it on the chat box and we will deliver it to the resource person.
In 10, 15 minutes.
Hello.
Hello, sir, am I audible? So we have a question from Hamid Ahmed. What are the impacts of online teaching and learning on writing ability of students?
Hello.
Yes, sir, am I audible? Narahari, sir, am I audible to you? Sir, am I audible to you? Narahari, sir, am I audible to you?
Yeah, and you are audible.
Okay, sir. You have a question from Hamid Ahmed.
Yes.
What are the impacts of online teaching and learning on writing ability of students?
Yeah, I think the writing ability of students has already been affected. Even in our existing education system, I don't know the writing ability because look at the way our assessment system is going through changes, and most of the questions are in terms of short questions, one sentence, two sentences, three sentences, five sentences, and maybe one section in the question paper which says that you critically examine, critically appreciate, offer your comments or advantage and disadvantage concept and all those things. To a certain extent, writing had been affected. And sometimes in a very lighter way, I used to say that even though the English language also has changed. The way we speak, our youngsters, how they make it so abbreviated format. Sometimes they do not know what actually is the spelling of that. Where it is English or any other language, it has happened. And certainly in online education, we miss out. We miss out of assessing or facilitating the real writing abilities. We can give them assignments. We can give them assignments. Writing ability also will have to be seen in terms of the way they write in their hand, the way they type. And if they are able to write an assessment based on information, based on very credible resources, not just cut and paste, writing ability can be improved in online education. I'm not saying that writing ability is wonderfully happening in our present education. They can be improved. But that's why I'm saying that online education is mostly for advanced learning. So it is add-on. And this is the point many should understand. Of course, now there is no way for us. People say that examinations are to be conducted. You are not yet completed the portion. Therefore, we are doing something. Whether it is network or no network, somehow even through WhatsApp, we are trying to contact them. So right now, we are not thinking in terms of our rating ability and all those things. That's why in my talk today, I have made it more focused on such critical thinking skills of our students in higher education. School and secondary education, maybe to a great extent, it can be carried on. But in higher education, these skills are very, very important. And many advanced programs are there. They can take extra credits, MOOCs, for example. Even the teachers can do MOOCs. Online courses can be there, and the government itself has provided. So therefore, for traditional general education, best is institution-based, campus-based traditional classes, which are supplemented or complemented by technology. And that is the best in my opinion.
Thank you, sir. One more question from Vidya Kishan Alva. She is asking, campus learning is no doubt far better than online learning. But sir, don't you think teachers now should be trained for new methods of teaching to adapt themselves for technology-driven education era?
Yeah, I think that's, if you have observed my talk very carefully, I said there should be a paradigm shift in our education methodology. We have been, that's why I use that phrase also, that we are convincing the regulatory agencies in terms of our teaching methodology. It is chalk and talk method. We are not projecting anywhere. You have seen the last 20-25 years, any institution, its assessment does not speak, although it is the most effective way of speaking to our students, talk and talk. We are not projecting it at all. We are saying that we are using PowerPoint, we are using smart classroom, we are using video, we are using group discussion, we are using small research projects, small assignments, and so many other things. We send them to field study, debates, Viva, so many other methods. We are now thinking. Even otherwise also we were thinking in terms of those methods. Now, of course, now this is the time for us to use the technology to make the best use of it for technology-based teaching. I am not doing away with technology-based teaching. I am only saying that technology is not everything.
Thank you, sir. There is one more question from Bharati MS. Education is for man-making and nation-building. Sir, will online education serve this purpose?
I think in the entire talk I said it will not serve the purpose. My talk was only on that. It will not serve the purpose. It helps to serve the purpose. It helps to serve the purpose. If it is man-making, that's exactly, I think, I appreciate you, that your concept is so clear that it is man-making and it is nation-building. And if it is man-making and nation-building, online has to supplement, our technology has to supplement human beings, or the human ability to get a desired change in the behavior of the other side, or to put information which could be converted into knowledge and to wisdom. And therefore, online education by itself will not be able to create these skills. Man-making and nation-building may not happen very effectively in online teaching. And that's very, very clear. See, even in industry, now what's happening to work from home in industry? And you know, that it is the most cheapest for the industry. If somebody is asked to work from home, then they can save a lot of money. And some tried this method, especially in the IT industry. They tried, but now they're asking them to come to office. They know that login, logout, also there could be a lot of aberrations in login, logout. And the amount of work put in by working at home and the amount of work put in an office, I think they're finding out that there is something. And that's how it's not work from home. It's work from office, facilitated by work from home. That's the way I look at this concept, because I am even today very, very strongly believing that if it is man making and nation building, you engage them, have a dialogue with them. It's a dialogue based engaging through critical thinking, which only can help. Of course, we should also rise to that level. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I would like to request our principal, Professor H.C. Dixit, to present his presidential remarks.
Hello, everybody. It has been a very nice and fruitful presentation by Dr. Narahari and meaningful discussion that followed. It is my expectation that the sparks of light that have emitted from this webinar will be of great help for the concerned agencies in framing policies regarding online education. Kudos to everybody. Thanks to Dr. Narahari and the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to convey my wishes to Abhay Chandra, sir.
Right.
Okay, thank you, sir. He is
Okay.
with us today here in our college.
Sir, thank you. I'll meet you.